Hello there, very good evening and welcome to Let's Talk Politics. I'm your host Eddie Layne, and of course, as we say to you every time we get on air, is this program is dedicated to highlighting the progress and development taking place under the People's Progressive Party Civic, and of course, at the same time, we use the opportunity to rebuff, debunk, and the lies and misinformation coming from the opposition, which seems to be their only plan at this point in time. This evening, we have quite a number of things to talk about. As you're aware, the government's Because We Care cash grant program continues to be rolled out across the country. Region 2 and ASQ Islands were completed during last week and the weekend. And of course, we've now moved into other regions, Region 5, Region 6, um, at the weekend. Coming this weekend, rather, you'll find that the teams of ministers and other government officials will be moving to Region 9 and other regions across the country as we continue to bring this much needed relief and support for families, especially those who have children in secondary school. It's going to pump $3.2 billion dollars into the economy. And you have to recognize that this is putting money into the hands of poor people, poor families, and of course, monies that they will in turn spend. So it's a huge boost for the economy. So um, this program will continue to be rolled out across the country. It's coming at a time when this is our first year in office since we returned to power on August 2nd. And when one look at what is happening across this country, the development taking place, the progress, the benefits that are being accrued to people, then one will understand the PUP Civic as a government means business. PUP Civic means has all intentions and for all intents and purposes intend to honor the commitment made on the campaign trail. You've seen we talked about remove the harsh uh, taxes and fees imposed by the opposition on the people of this country with VAT and education and so forth. We've promised that we were going to reverse those measures, those draconian measures, and we did. We promised that we are going to offer 20,000 scholarships, online scholarships to young people and Guyanese in general. We're on course to more or less achieve that. We've already the first round of applications for this program would have started, um, and a number of people would have applied. That process is ongoing. Um, we have spoken about 10,000 house lots per year. We're in the process of doing that. Only recently, you saw in Linden, the People's Progressive Party civil government led by, that outreach led by the ministers of um, housing, distributing house lots in Region 10, 400 in Region 10, in Essequibo, on the East Coast, in Berbice, all over the country. There was a massive event at the National Stadium, Providence, the Dream Realize initiative, where persons were able to access house lots, people were able to receive their titles. We promise that we will reopen the sugar industry, which the APNU AFC closed, putting thousands of persons out of jobs. Only only today, I think I saw an article in one of the local newspapers with a huge headline saying Rosal Estate to hire over 100 persons, close to 700 regain employment at shuttered estates across the country. Well, particularly in Berbice. So the reality is, as a government, the People's Progressive Party Civic remains true to its commitment, remain honoring whatever commitment we made with the people while on the campaign trail. We have managed to continue to tackle the COVID-19 pandemic. Uh, the government has invested heavily in um, ensuring that there is adequate vaccines for at least the adult population of this country. And His Excellency made it clear that the intention too is to access vaccines that could be administered to children in face of the cases of children being infected not only in Guyana but across the world. So when you look at the government and what we've done since assuming office just 12 months ago, one has to, I mean, any fair person will tell you that the Dr. Irfan Ali led administration has outdone the APNU AFC in 10 months, in 12 short months. We've managed to achieve what APNU couldn't achieve in an entire year. Look, the ministers of this government are working ministers. They're not people who sit in the offices and just not go out. You have Dr. Ashni Singh over the weekend conducted outreaches in the Parika in the region 3 area. You have Minister Mustafa all over this country. You have Minister Bharat all over this country. You have the president himself going to communities, going to regions, meeting with people, listening to their concerns, addressing them. And that is the nature of this government. And this is not, there's always this whole thing about, when you come in first, you have the energy, you have the drive, and you're going to see things happening. You've seen this for an entire year. The momentum that we came into office with, that momentum has been maintained. The ministers continue to fan out across the country, to go to communities, to meet with people, to ensure that we can address their concerns, whatever are the issues affecting them, that we are moving to communities to ensure that those issues are affected. Only today, I saw a story being published of, and before I get to that story, I want to make the point. I want to make the point that the People's Progressive Party civic government is not a government that is only concerned about its supporters. It's not a government that is only concerned about, communities and regions that voted PPP. It's a government that has been across this country to every single community, ensuring that people benefit. I say that to make the point that only today I saw the story of $99.5 million road maintenance in Georgetown, in the city. So this accusation and this claim that you often hear from the PNC, the APNU AFC, about the PPP somehow being a party that is only focused on its supporters and communities, and there is discrimination and all sorts of things. You have to look at what is happening across the country, and you will recognize that it's a government that means business. It's a government that has been moving across this country in every single village, in every single community, to ensure that people benefit. We recognize that the people of this country struggled for 5 years. They lost hope. They were giving up because there was no development taking place. There were no benefits coming to them. The then government, was willing to tax them into poverty. We recognize those issues, and we've been working assiduously over time. Every single minister of this government would have been in the fields, continue to be in the fields, to meet with people, to listen to their concerns, and to address many of those issues on the ground. And we recognize the challenges that the people in Georgetown are facing because they have a city council, a municipality, a leadership in the municipality that is incompetent, in the mayor and deputy mayor, that cannot manage, have absolutely no idea to manage. We have recognized that, and central government is ensuring that roads that are in deplorable state in the capital are fixed so that we can ensure our commuters, our drivers, road users generally are safe, and that those roads are maintained and the aesthetics of communities are maintained and improved by the works that are ongoing. So we're creeping up on our first year in office, and if you ask me, I can safely say that I think the People's Progressive Party Civic, as a government, would have, scored an excellent A. I mean, we don't want to score and to give ourselves, scores of but any fair an honest individual will say to you that the People's Progressive Party Civic has been a government that means business, a government that wants to see benefits to the people of this country, that wants to see the country move forward. And you know what is surprising? And if let's take for example, look at what is happening in the education sector. Put aside the $19,000 that parents of poor families are benefiting from per child. There are families that are benefiting from, depending on how many children they have in the government school system. And soon it seems that they move beyond the government school system where the program may very well be extended to include even folks who have kids in the private school system based on what the Honorable Vice President, Dr. Jagbio, would have said recently, and followed up by the Minister of Education, who said efforts are ongoing to engage private educators to ensure that, or to see what is happening and how the students in those private institutions can be included. You put the cash grant program aside, and I'll deal with some of the naysayers with regards to the cash grant program in just a bit. Look at the work that are being done. Priya Manikchan, as education minister, visited more communities, more schools, engaged more parents, teachers, educators, educational officials in 6 months than uh, the previous under the APNU AFC. I don't even remember her name. She was so invisible that you couldn't even remember her name. Um, did in 5 years. Whatever is her, I can't remember the lady's name. But Priya Manikchan as education minister engaged more people, more stakeholders in the education sector, from parents to children to teachers to regional officials across the board, excuse me, than Nicolette Henry did in 5 years. Priya Manikchan is not a minister, in my view, that is accustomed to sit in an office and to pass instructions. Priya Manikchan, like every other minister of the People's Progressive Party Civic, believe in being part of the process, in helping to drive the process. Look at the massive plan to ensure that education is delivered to students in the COVID environment in which we operate. Look at the learning channel has expanded tremendously. Uh, Packages are being printed and delivered to students who don't have access to the internet or don't have access to the learning channel. Virtually education is being delivered every single day. I think almost parallel to the Caribbean, almost parallel to many Caribbean countries that are delivering education virtually in these COVID times. Look at the management of this country. Look, many countries around the world are struggling to keep things together. They're struggling to either ensure that the economy stays afloat, to ensure that they can pay wages and salaries, and they can provide the medical and health services that people require. There's hardly any focus on investment. There is hardly any focus on growth. Many countries are in that mode of just trying to survive, so to speak. In Guyana, under the People's Progressive Party civic leadership and the leadership of Dr. Irfan Ali, we are seeing investment, foreign direct investment, local investments are taking off. Hotels are being built, businesses are being opened all across this country in the COVID times, while other countries are struggling to keep it together. Now, that I'm not putting down those countries, but the point I am making is that you have a government that understands to manage. The People's Progressive Party Civic understands to manage a country and to ensure that there is growth and that there is development taking place. And you will see more and more of that happening, even as we try to ensure we reach herd immunity, that we get past this pandemic. I can tell you, once we get past this pandemic, we get out of this situation we're in, trust me, you are going to see you are going to see the tremendous amount of development that will take place in this country. The People's Progressive Party Civic, even in these COVID times, still affording to ensure that the Because We Care cash grant is rolled out, still ensuring that public servants are being paid, still ensure that teachers are being paid, still ensuring that roads are maintained, ensuring that the medical supplies are available, health services are in place, ensuring that jobs are created, ensuring that people are given opportunities despite a COVID-19 environment. And it is, as one person said, it is the PPPC is a government with a strategy to advance this country, to develop this country, and to develop the people of this country, ensuring that every single Guyanese benefit and that we progress as a nation. All of this happening when we are battling the COVID-19 pandemic. And countries are struggling. Many of them are struggling. We have still managed to purchase hundreds and thousands of doses of vaccines. Hundreds of thousands, rather, of doses of vaccines, COVID-19 vaccines, while other countries are struggling. The point I'm making, like I said, is not to put down other countries, but is really to show that you have a team with a mission. You have a team that understands how you lead, a team that intends to develop and grow Guyana for the benefit of every single citizen. And we are not doing it only depending on oil money. Matter of fact, the People's Progressive Party civic government has made a commitment to the people of this country that we are not going to spend the oil revenue unless there is a proper system of accountability and transparency in place. And we have been honoring that commitment, that promise that we made to the people of this country. And all that I mentioned, we have been doing without interfering with oil revenues. We have managed to do all that I mentioned without interfering with oil revenues. What I want to also advance and what I want to say to you is that as a government, the People's Progressive Party Civic is not putting all its eggs in one basket like APNU did. You know, when oil was, commercial quantity oil was first found in 2015, the Granger government abandoned every other sector. Every other sector. They ignored the mining sector, the logging industry, rice, sugar, cash crops, the manufacturing, the services section, everything they abandoned. And Jordan was going to borrow to run the country. He was borrowing against oil earnings, anticipated oil revenues. So they were preparing Guyana for the Dutch disease, where they were putting the country in a position where we depend wholly and solely on oil revenues. But the People's Progressive Party Civic is not going to do that. This team will not do that. We are looking to diversify our economic base. So, since assuming office, we have moved to revitalize the sectors that they ignore, the agriculture sector. Minister Mustafa is all across this country trying to revitalize the agriculture sector and to diversify the sector. We are looking to revitalize and to rebuild and to reopen, and we have successfully done so thus far. The forestry sector, the entire extractive industry, the mining sector, the services sector, the manufacturing sector, every single sector outside of oil and gas, we have pumped new energy into. There is greater hope among the people, and Guyana as a country is building a diversified economic base. So if oil fails, it's not going to be there forever. Oil is not an unending resource, and we understand that as a government. So we are putting systems in place to build out an economic base that is so diversified that if one sector fails, there are others that can back it up to ensure that the economy remain very, very stable. We are building the kind of human resource capacity necessary to ensure that benefits from every sector the citizens can of this country can benefit from all the opportunities in every single sector. So we don't have a tunnel vision. We are not preparing a country with an economy in a silo kind of manner where we divorce things. There's a network. Every single sector, every single program by the government, there's a link. Our economy is being built in such a way where it's interlinked. So while the oil and gas sector is expanding and more persons are coming into the country to work in that sector, the agriculture sector is being expanded to provide the goods and services that are necessary to feed the people who are coming in. And we're creating the public infrastructure through roads, bridges, etc., the airport, that will be able to accommodate the increase in traffic, the increase in the number of people coming in. We are building out the tourism and the hospitality sector by creating the windows and opportunities for investment so that the people who are coming in to work in the oil and gas sector and the other sectors have places to have accommodation, there is adequate rooms, etc. So you have to understand this government has a plan. We don't operate in silos where we just focus on one sector without looking at how interconnected they are. We are expanding our housing program, and it's for that reason we are expanding our road networks. We're expanding agriculture. We're creating more opportunities, business opportunities. We are looking at if you're expanding agriculture, you create opportunities for value added products. As a government, we understand how you manage a country. We understand the requirements if you want to keep your country afloat. We don't want to get into a situation like other countries. And it's for that reason that the People's Progressive Party civic government has been running this country to ensure that we stay afloat. There's vibrancy in the economy, there are opportunities for people, and that we can grow as a country. So 1 year on, not quite yet, just a few days more to go, and I can say to you that there's a very, very exciting road ahead for this country. You're going to see tremendous development, tremendous opportunities coming your way as we move forward with the People's Progressive Party civic government. This is a government that means business, that intends to ensure that we look after the interest of the people of this country. And we don't care about the naysayers. We don't care about those who want to criticize the cash grant. What we know is that thousands, hundreds of thousands of Guyanese families are benefiting from the resources of the state. So Aubrey Norton, Coretta McDonald, and all the others who are criticizing the program, you know what they're doing in essence? They are criticizing and they are against taxpayers' money. They're criticizing, they're against the People's Progressive Party civic government taking taxpayers' money and put it back into taxpayers' hands. That is what they're against. They're against we giving monies to families who are in dire need for the assistance, either to to buy a computer for the kids, either to put the internet into their homes so that the children can learn online, either to buy uniform for the children when school reopens, maybe to ensure that children are comfortable in the home. Their homes may be without electricity, the monies may be used to connect electricity, so many things. But you have a group of people who claim that they love this country and they love the people of this country, busy telling you, don't give taxpayers money. You know what they want you to do? They want you to do as they were doing, where they were looking for every single opportunity to thief every single thing. If they were rolling out a cash grant program like this, it would have been $5.9 billion, 2.6 alone for them to steal, and the other 3.2 going to the people. These are the very people who are telling you, who are criticizing the government investing $3.2 billion in the children of this country and putting it in the hands of poor families who are essentially saying that they are what they are doing essentially is telling you not to give the money to the people of this country, and the Durban Park and their food bill in office surpassed the amount that you are giving to the people of this country. So they wanted to spend it for themselves. They don't want to give it to the people of this country. So, I don't want us to spend too much time on the naysayers, those folks who are more concerned about filling their pockets and benefiting themselves. We are not too concerned about that. We're going to continue to do what we're doing, and we'll continue to do more to ensure that benefits are brought to the people of this country. I want to address one other issue quickly before we wrap up tonight's program, and this has to do with the continued attempts by the APNU, AFC, the PNC, to try to block every effort to bring to justice those who were responsible or those who were key players in the attempts to derail our democracy and to steal an election. So the Ghana Elections Commission met this afternoon. That meeting was expected to maybe start the process of debating the motion against Keith Lowenfield, Roxanne Myers, and Clement Mingo, three of the players in the GCOM Secretariat who are at the forefront in the efforts to steal our elections, to trample on the democracy of this country. So the PNC commissioners, and I have to say the PNC commissioners because I don't believe Trotman is any longer WPA. Trotman is both feet in the PNC. So the PNC commissioners effectively blocked debate on the motion when they walked out of the meeting today. They are continuing their efforts. They are continuing every single effort to derail a process that will, in some measure, ensure that justice is served and that elements who attempted to trample on our democracy, who attempted to steal an election in the face of the world, are far removed from the elections machinery. Because I don't think the people of this country want to go to an election again with elements like Lowenfield and the others in GCOM. And you're hearing all sorts of ludicrous, fallacious kind of claim coming from the opposition about, one attempt, I think Lowenfield and the others went to court trying to block uh, Shadiq and the others, Bibi Shadiq and the other commissioners who tabled the motion from participating in uh, in the debate on the motion. So when then opposition leader Barrett Jagdeo tabled a motion in national no confidence motion in the National Assembly. Are they saying that you should have stayed out of the process? Are they saying that Harman to misplaced uh, motions he should not participate if there is a debate? That is the kind of attitude, that is the kind of behavior you have coming from the opposition. So they and this tells the true story. The true story that the folks like Lowenfield, Myers, and Mingo were actually working on behalf of the PNC. Those were the foot soldiers. Those were the, the, the people working, doing the bidding on behalf of the PNC to rig the elections. That is why they're supporting them. That is why they're using every single effort, making or try every single trick in the book to prevent these people from being dismissed. Because they recognize those that they have to pay back. That's the payback now. They want to keep them in the system. It's not going to happen. We are not, as a country, will allow criminal elements like Lowenfield, Myers, and the others to remain in GCOM. They cannot be a part of the electoral machinery. We have seen what happened between March 2nd, 2020 and August 2nd, 2020. Never again the people of Guyana will allow that to happen. Never again will we allow a situation where, in the eyes of the world, in this day and age, in the 21st century, will we allow criminal elements like Lowenfield and the others to be part of a process, an electoral process, to steal our democracy. And I believe that the process, there's a process of GCOM. Whether or not these guys continue to leave meetings or not attend meetings, there's a process through which debate on that motion will take place, and I know for a fact that it will happen. And I know for a fact that justice will be served. Justice will prevail when these criminal elements appear before the courts. And they will, I'm 100% sure, they will be found guilty, because the evidence is laying bare before this nation of the criminality, the criminal conduct of those who were complicit in the efforts to rig the elections. I see somebody saying that Coretta McDonald was protesting today. That lady is a lost soul. Coretta McDonald is lost. She's not representing the interest of teachers. She is representing the interest of the PNC. She's a lost soul. We pay her no mind. She, Sherrod, and the crew, and Annette and all of them, I don't know. I believe that majority of them in the opposition in parliament really need psychiatric help. They need to be treated. So I won't waste time on Coretta McDonald. But this is where I'll wrap the program for this evening. I want to thank you for being part of this program. We're going to be back with you on Saturday evening again as we continue our discussions to tell you about the development taking place in our country under the People's Progressive Party civic government, and of course, as we continue to debunk the misplaced, the lies, and the misinformation being spread by the lost and incompetent APNU AFC opposition. Until then, I encourage those of you who have not yet taken your vaccines to do so. Vaccines are available together. Vaccines seem to be one of the key things that will help us out of this pandemic. I encourage you to take your vaccines, to continue to practice social distancing, and do all that is necessary as we try to pull ourselves out of this pandemic. I encourage those of you using the roads, because this has been quite a little bit of an issue for us in recent times. Do so carefully, with care and caution, and look out for others. We cannot continue. A single life lost on our road is one too much. So I encourage you to be careful. Drivers, pedestrians, and all road users. Until next time, I say thanks for being part of the program. Have a good rest of the evening. Be safe. Good night.